Hi! Would you like to learn how to use the present perfect continuous correctly in English? Welcome to Jen's Jyugyou. My name is Jen, and today I'm going to teach you all about the present perfect continuous, which is also known as the present perfect progressive. To begin, please take a look at these two sentences. I have read this book. Or, I have been reading this book. There is a difference, a big difference between these two sentences. The first sentence, I have read this book, means that I finished reading this book. I read the whole thing and it was a great book, and now I'm done. However, in the second sentence, I have been reading this book, means that sometime in the past I started to read the book, but I'm not finished yet. Maybe I'm somewhere in the middle of the book. So I have been reading this book means that my action of reading the book is continuing. The first sentence is an example of the present perfect, to talk about an action that started and finished sometime in the past. The second sentence, I have been reading this book, is an example of today's grammar point, the present perfect continuous. The present perfect continuous is mostly used to talk about an action that started in the past and is still continuing now. Let's talk about how to make sentences using the present perfect continuous. What is the formula for the present perfect progressive? To make your sentences, you're going to start with your subject. Who or what is doing the action? And then you're going to use have or has. Make sure you remember subject-verb agreement rules. So I, you, they, we, have, he, she, it, has. After have or has, you need to use the word been, B-E-E-N. And then you're going to use your verb plus ing. So verb plus ing is continuing, right? It's progressing, which is why we call it the present perfect continuous or present perfect progressive. I have been teaching English for over 11 years. I have been teaching. This is the example of the sentence structure we are looking at, the present perfect continuous. I have been teaching English for over 11 years. She has been sleeping all day. When you have your subject and then after your subject have or has, it is possible to use contractions in that area. Contractions meaning putting two words together with an apostrophe to make things shorter when you're speaking or writing. For example, we've been planning our vacation for a long time now. We've been planning is the same as we have, but you're putting we and have together. We've been planning our vacation for a long time now. He has been working a lot lately. He's been working a lot lately. Now, let's take a look at how to make negative sentences using the present perfect continuous. Start with your subject, then have or has, then you're going to add the word not to make it negative. And then been, then your verb plus ing. He has not been playing basketball. They have not been reading the newspaper. If you want to make contractions in negative present perfect progressive sentences, you can put the word have or has together with the word not. I have not been visiting my friends lately. I haven't been visiting my friends lately. She hasn't been living here for very long. Let's take a look at questions in the present perfect continuous. To make a yes or no question, you will start with have or has, then your subject, then been, then your verb plus ing. Has he been cooking cooking dinner? Yes, he has, or no, he hasn't. Have you been practicing soccer long? Yes, I have, or no, I haven't. If you want to make better questions, WH questions, you can add the WH question word, who, what, when, where, why, how, in front of have or has. How long have you been studying English? To answer this question, you should make a sentence. I have been studying English for 2 days. I have been studying English for 5 years. What have you been reading lately? And again, to answer this WH question in the present perfect continuous, you should answer in a present perfect continuous sentence. I have been reading Japanese fairy tales recently. Now, I'd like to give you 4 important points to help you remember when to use the present perfect continuous. When should you use this verb tense? At the beginning of this video, I mentioned that the main way we use the present perfect continuous is for actions that started in the past, but are continuing now. So they're still continuing. I have been making YouTube videos for almost 2 years. This is an example of an action that started in the past, but is still continuing right now. It's happening right now as I'm speaking. I have been making YouTube videos for almost 2 years. A past action that started in the past, but is still continuing now. If you'd like me to continue making more YouTube videos, don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss the new videos. And if you've been finding my YouTube videos useful, you should definitely share them. She has been knitting a sweater. She started in the past and is still knitting the same sweater now. He has been writing a diary daily for many years. They've been trying to save money since March. This leads into the second tip about the present perfect continuous, and that is that the present perfect continuous is used to talk about how long an action has been happening. When we use the present perfect continuous in this way, we usually use it with the expressions for or since. So for plus a duration of time, and since plus the starting date or starting time of the action. I have been studying Japanese for 11 years. If I want to use since, I would say, I have been studying Japanese since 2009. So since 2009 or for 11 years have the same meaning in this case as of making this video. So you can see how for or since are used with the present perfect continuous to describe the amount of time, the length of time, how long have I been doing the action. He has been working at his company for 6 years. I have been collecting Pokemon cards since elementary school. Since elementary school, I have been collecting Pokemon cards. I still continue to collect them. The third tip I want to give you to help you remember when to use the present perfect continuous is that we use the present perfect continuous for temporary actions. So temporary means an action that has started in the past and is still continuing now, but will stop soon, is going to end soon. He has been looking for a job since March. As soon as he finds a job and starts working, then he will stop looking for a job because he has a job. So he has been looking for a job since March. Our neighbors have been living next door for 3 years, but they're moving next week. I have been gaining a lot of weight recently because I haven't been exercising lately. You could hear me use the words lately and recently in my sentence though. So oftentimes when we use the present perfect continuous together with the words recently or lately, it shows that this action is temporary. It has been raining all day. All day is another example of a word that helps to emphasize that the action is temporary. My fourth tip for you about when to use the present perfect continuous is for actions that have recently finished or have just now come to an end. So the action started in the past, was continuing, and boom, right now, just now, the action has stopped. If I'm looking at my watch, waiting for my friend, and suddenly my friend appears, I'm happy, I can finally see my friend, I've been waiting for her, then I will say to her, finally, I've been waiting for you. I have been waiting for you forever. I've been looking forward to this all day. I have been looking forward to it all day. Now that it's here, I don't have to look forward to it because it's happening now. So those are two examples of how we can use the present perfect continuous for an action that has recently finished. Here is a really big and important tip for you. When you are making your sentences with the present perfect progressive, you need to remember about stative verbs or non-action verbs. Stative verbs or non-action verbs are verbs that do not get ing added to the ends of them. You cannot add ing to these types of verbs. I talked about this in one of my other earlier lessons about stative verbs. So if you have difficulty with stative verbs, you can check out that lesson. I'll put it in the description below for you. So stative verbs, instead of using the present perfect continuous to make your sentence, instead you would just use the present perfect. In English, you cannot say, I've been having a headache all day. This is because have is a stative verb. So instead of using the present perfect continuous, I've been having a headache all day, no. Instead use the present perfect. I've had a headache all day. Another stative verb is believe. So you couldn't say he hasn't been believing in Santa Claus since he was a child because you can't put ing with believe. So instead you would say he hasn't believed in Santa since he was a child. Please be careful when you are making your sentences, positive, negative, or questions. Don't add ing to stative verbs. So today you learned how to make various sentences using the present perfect continuous. And you've learned 4 very important tips for when exactly you should use the present perfect continuous in English. And now it's time for question of the day. Today's question is, how long have you been studying English? Let me know using the present perfect continuous in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching today's lesson. If you found it useful, please subscribe to Jen's Jyugyou, give this video a thumbs up, and share it with your friends so that they can learn all about the present perfect continuous as well. Good luck with your English studies. See you in the next lesson.